Good afternoon and Assalamualaikum everyone. So my name is Zubli Kuzari bin Zubli, and yes, I have the same name with my father, but you can call me Zubli. For today, I will be sharing about advocacy skills or Mooting 101. Okay, so my style is very simple. It must be practical and realistic. So I hope by the end of this session, you can apply any of this knowledge right away. Okay. Our journey for today. So I have divided it into 4 points, which is our quick introduction and theory of advocacy, and then our practical application, and lastly would be Q&A and promotion. So for quick introduction, I am a mooter, okay? So it is my duty and obligation to romanticize mooting for the juniors. So these are some of my experience in mooting. So firstly, I participated in novice arbitration mooting competition or NAMCO. So especially for semester 1 student like you, it is advisable to join this competition because it's for novice, meaning student that never participated in any mooting competition. So the judge will be super easy with you, and it was fun for me. Okay, so next we have SANCO, Sports Arbitration Mooting Competition. Well, it's about sport. And then we have FDI, yeah. Hey. So foreign direct investment. So foreign direct investment is about investment lah kan. So in simple terms, so there are two countries, they signed a bilateral treaty, and then one country can invest to another country. So patutlah adalah gaduh-gaduh, so we have to fight in the court. The second one for our presentation for this sharing session is on the theory on advocacy. Okay, so theory of advocacy ni, I prefer this theory propounded by Mr. G.K. Gansen. He's a lawyer in Malaysia, practicing. So, tapi dia hidup lagi lah walaupun gambar dia hitam. So, three terms ni is very simple, very easy, tapi tak ramai tahu. Sebab benda ni is like macam street punya knowledge tau, yang you have to acquire from someone yang wiser than you kan. So, I dah cari juga dalam buku ke apa, tak ada. Most probably dia ada theories lah. Tapi I think this is the most practical, most easiest for student like us. So, apa three tells tu? Senang je. First one is tell them what you will tell. And the second one is to tell them, and lastly to tell them what you have told. So, kalau korang belajar ELC, korang akan belajar thesis statement. So, the first one tu is kind of like a thesis statement lah. And then tell them, okay, next one. So the first one tu is like your thesis statement. The second one is your points. So and the last one is reiterating your points. So for example, kita bagi konteks lah kan. Katalah you have 3 points, A, B and C. So macam mana in the context of 3 tells? So ni a simple version lah kan. So today I have 3 points to be discussed, namely A, B and C, and then you move on with what is A, and then what is B, and what is C, and lastly, you can conclude. For example, in conclusion, A, B, and C is important to understand the ideas of the 3 tells, for example. Okay. So you can see lah, tell them what you will tell them, and then tell them what you have told. Okay. So now, in practical application, okay, how do you apply the 3 tells in terms of mooting? Okay. So starting from here, to put it crudely, dia macam a bit of a spoon feeding lah. Tapi I don't mind sebab at the end of the day, benda ni must be practical to you that you can use right away. Okay. So firstly, we start dengan kita ada 3 part, greeting which or the introduction, and then kita ada the main submission, your oral submission, and lastly we have the conclusion. So kita start dengan the first one, which is how to greet a judge. Okay. Like I said earlier, bila you dengan judge, you kena maintain your composure and all. So first kali, time is of the essence. So to be safe, usually I guna good day. So good day ya Arif. So kalau good day tu pagi ke, petang ke, malam ke, semua boleh. Sebab it's a good day. Tapi you boleh, kalau you want to be precise, you boleh guna good morning, good afternoon and good evening. Tapi you have to make sure lah sebab dia ada some grey area between good afternoon and good evening. Okay, next is you and your submission. You have to state your name, whom you represent, your client lah. Apa nama your client tu? Your plaintiff ke, defendant ke? and then your issue. So you nak discuss, korang ada 2 issue kan, so siapa discuss first issue, siapa discuss second, and then lastly your main argument. Usually I include sekali in my introduction. So and lastly ni, this is the most important thing, how long will you be taking? So berapa lama? So you kena tell the judge, I'm taking 10 minutes of your time. So macam nak being polite lah to the judge. So bagi tahu dia, how long will you be taking? Okay. So inilah spoon feeding dia. So okay, I dah divide terus plaintiff and defendant. Sebab plaintiff and defendant dua-dua lain, tak sama. Okay, kita akan tengok one by one lah kan. So for example, for plaintiff kan, good day Yang Arif, my name is someone, the counsel for the plaintiff, and usually I akan tell lah what is the name of your plaintiff, and then together with me is my co-counsel. Okay, so dia tak ada a specific rule lah kan, how to call your partner kan. Tapi usually we use co-counsel. It is permissible also to use junior counsel. So you are senior counsel and junior counsel. Tapi I prefer guna counsel and co-counsel sebab I rasa kita orang rasa macam at par lah. Bila you junior tu rasa macam kecil sikit kan. Okay, so next, okay, so for plaintiff, there is one more thing, which is you have to acknowledge the opposing counsel. So for example, representing the defendant is siapa. Tapi a privilege lah for you guys sebab you guys classmate kan. So probably you dah kenal lah your classmate. So you just sebut je lah nama dia siapa for plaintiff. And then I will be submitting the first issue and followed by second counsel for the second. So first issue, my second counsel, second issue. So each of us will be taking 10 minutes and reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal. Okay, I think you guys tak ada rebuttal. Okay. So ni just for context lah. Sebab usually in mooting competition you do have rebuttal. Okay. Anyway, so macam ni you beritahu terus berapa lama. Okay. Kesannya sama juga, cuma beza dia you tak perlu nak kenalkan the plaintiff lah. So plaintiff already kenalkan you, tapi you have to kenalkan yourself to the judge. Okay. So satu lagi bear in mind, it's Yang Arif bukan my lord, bukannya Mr. Arbitrator ke apa. Sebab in Malaysia we use Yang Arif. I know it can be confusing sebab tiba-tiba bahasa Melayu kan, tapi in court you cakap bahasa Melayu.
Betul.
So next is your main submission. So for your main submission, firstly you have to know your structure. So bila you nak present your case, you bagi tahu siap-siap your judge daripada A sampai Z apa yang akan buat hari ni. So let's say nanti I will show you some example. Okay, next is law and application. I understand that some of you macam is accustomed to law and then apply. So as for mooting, you have to law apply accordingly. So ikut lah, for example, if you have 2 submission to the court, so law and then apply terus, and then law apply. Okay, and then you have to have a small conclusion. So for example, if you have 2 submission for the court, so under your first submission you have to conclude, and then for your second submission pun you have to conclude. So ada 2 conclusion, and then at the end of your presentation or at the end of your oral submission, you have to have your last conclusion lah to conclude everything. Yang tu jaga I will show you, tapi this is small conclusion for your submission. Okay, so this is one hypothetical issue. Our hypothetical issue is whether the acceptance made by the defendant is absolute and unqualified. Ni just an example lah kan. So tadi kita dah introduce ourselves. Now, may you please the court. So we are about to start. Ini kita panggil signposting. So kita beritahu kat the court, we are about to start. So may you please the court, I have 2 submission for today. Okay, ni yang I cakap tadi tu, you beritahu siap-siap apa yang you akan buat for the whole submission. So beritahu dah, you ada 2 submission, first submission is about apa, second submission is about apa. So the court dah acknowledge, okay, you ada 2 submission for today, 2 je, for 10 minutes. Okay, so for my first submission, for example, the offer made by the plaintiff is valid because, okay, you beritahu siap-siap sort of lah, your conclusion lah. You beritahu dekat the judge before you masuk the law kan. So sebab usually kalau ILAC, you issue terus you masuk law kan. Tapi you beritahu terus kat the judge. My first submission buat apa, kenapa. You beritahu in one sentence lah, 1 or 2 sentence. You beritahu siap-siap to the judge. And then baru you masuk to the law. So ni pun signposting juga, if I may draw the attention of Yang Arif to section berapa, and further it has been decided in what cases. Okay, so ada banyak cara lah to acknowledge the court. So may I draw the attention of this honourable court, may I draw the attention of Yang Arif, okay lah, kalau arbitration dia boleh cakap Mr. Arbitrator can refer to page, you terus macam tu. So and then facts, okay. So usually kalau you buat your written submission, bukan submission, your ILAC lah in class, usually you jarang mention which paragraph at which line kan. And I tengok your question pun tak ada numbering betul tak ada kan. So better that you numberkan your paragraph tu, so that bila you nak cite tu you beritahu at which paragraph you are citing which line, so that the judge sebab in any case you are trying your best to make it easier for the judge, sebab you are the court punya ni kan, orang the lawyer kan, so you nak make it easier for the judge to understand, so that your submission is clear. And then lastly, okay, this is the small conclusion yang cakap tadi tu. So to conclude my first submission, there was a valid offer because blah 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 blah. Okay, and then baru you move on to your next submission. So you dah conclude dah for your first submission. Now is the next blah. Okay, usually it depends on the time lah. Kalau time I have banyak lagi masa, usually I akan tanya the judge. Kalau the judge tu is senyap kan, you have to ask question. Is there any question from the bench? Tanya kan. Sebab the reason being, sebab in terms of mooting, there is question and there is marks for question. So kalau the judge tu sampai habis dia tak tanya soalan, so your marks for questioning kosong. And I believe it is the same too for your mooting nanti.
That's right.
Okay, so do ask the bench lah. Kalau kita panggil bench yang macam senyap lah, kita kena tanya soalan dekat the bench. Okay, okay, so for conclusion, okay, conclusion is very easy and usually orang kata the last conclusion tu will be submitted by your last counsel lah, your co-counsel or your junior counsel lah, dia akan bagi the main conclusion. So apa yang perlu ada in your conclusion? Firstly, you have to restate your points. So summarize your argument. So you have, for example, if you are the second counsel kan, so your senior counsel bagi 2 submission, you bagi 2 submission, so in total ada 4 submission. So summarize that 4 submission. So for example, firstly, the offer is valid. Secondly, the sentence is absolute, not absolute and unqualified, so on and so forth. So you cakap balik and then plead to the judge. Okay. So ini pun yang usually orang miss out lah. Okay. So bila you dah submit to the court, so sekarang it raises a question. Apa yang you nak? Okay. So you beritahu the court, apa yang you nak sebenarnya? So for the contract, tak perlu ke? Contract tu batal ke? You nak rescind ke? You nak compensation ke? Tell the court. Okay. And macam in multi competition, you can be as creative as much creativity as you want. So apa-apa pun you boleh minta lah, as long as it is still reasonable lah and for the benefit of your client. So tapi as for you, contract most probably you nak cancel lah kan, ataupun tak nak ada contract tu, or to rescind the contract. And then lastly is formality. So being polite to the court. So ada this one specific sentence yang which I will show you depan ni. Macam mana you nak be polite and end your submission. Okay. So again, dua-dua is fairly similar je. Cuma beza dia is that this I will ubah sikit. So you ada a few variation lah for the first one and the second one. So for example, you look at the plaintiff first. So all in all, dia dah nak submit, dah nak conclude. We submit that firstly, the offer made by the plaintiff was valid, and secondly, the acceptance made by the defendant was not absolute and unqualified. So you beritahu terus, you summarize apa your points tadi. So ini sebenarnya, kalau if you remember tadi, the 3 tells, which is tell them what you have told. So beritahu balik the court. So you have to remind the court, what is your point, what is your point, what is your point. And then, okay, so ini, you plead the court. We humbly plead this court to decide in our favour that there was no contract formed between plaintiff and defendant. So this is what you want. You tak mahu ada contract tu. Okay. And then yang lastly, to be polite, you cakap, if your Arif has no further questions, I thank this court for his time and indulgence. Ni just one sentence, just to be polite, nothing much. Okay. And for the defendant, you had another variation. So in conclusion, we submit that there was no counteroffer made by the defendant as it was a mere request for clarification. And I believe you guys have belajar kot in contract kan, mere request for clarification. And then, so we plead this court. Okay, so the defendant dia lain sikit. Dia kata we plead this court not to be persuaded by the plaintiff. So this is another way of telling the court to decide in your favor. Okay, and decide that there was a contract made between plaintiff and defendant. And then yang ni lain sikit from this one. If I can no longer be of any further assistance to Yang Arif, I thank this court for this time and indulgence. Okay, so additional tips. Okay, so ini tips yang I compiled from my experience in mooting competition. So firstly, language. Okay, if in arbitration, usually you have to use simple language and I believe it is the same for court. Cuma court ni dia ada court decorum dia, so there are certain things macam tadi tu, I thank this court for this time and indulgence kan, dia a bit heavy kan, words dia, choice of words dia. Tapi in your main submission, you should try your best to use it in the most simplest language, sebab to make it easy for the judge to understand. I bagi you some example. Contohnya, if you are citing a section, so bila you cite a section, most probably in your written submission, you ambil je contract act tu, paste kan. Tapi in your oral submission, that is not possible lah. Sebab the judge takkan nak dengar dah lah ayat in your legislation macam berbelit kan. So apa yang you boleh buat adalah paraphrase that sentence so that the judge will understand your points right away. Kenapa you nak cite this section? Okay. So and then structure. Your argument must be structured as I explained earlier. So you have your introduction, first submission, second submission, and conclusion. And even in your submission pun, you have your points, and then the law, the application, and then the small conclusion. So everything is very structured. Okay. And number 3 is to be ready. Okay. So because the judge will ask you question to test you whether you understand tak your case. So that's why you have to be ready with cases. Alternative submission maybe because you can derive from your main submission, from your written submission, so you boleh guna alternative. So alternatively, if the judge don't agree with you, your submission is weak, so you have an alternative to support this. Okay, and then pace. Okay, so the pace is always to be slow. You have, tapi not too slow. A good pace lah, not too fast and not too slow. Sebab for any mooter, especially yang baru join kan, they have a tendency to rap your submission. So dia akan cakap laju gila. Tapi in your case, you sekarang ni you nak convince the judge kan. So you kena pelan-pelan cakap, okay, Yang Arif, I have 2 submission. My first submission is about A, my second submission is about B. So you satu, word by word. Okay. And then composure. So you have to be confident in your submission because at the end of the day, the judge will also analyse your composure in court. Kalau you pun nervous, the judge susah nak bagi markah, or if in real life situation, nampak you tak yakin with your case. So walaupun katalah macam I baca my case kan, if you are reading my case, I am defending a country that has bombed the whole facility of another company. So the whole facility hancur. Tapi my task is to defend the country. So I pun cakap lah, tapi I know lah for certain yang I have a weak case as compared to the other side, okay. Tapi I tolak je benda tu. This is my client. I have to protect my client's rights. So I dah ada all the law, I dah ada all the cases. I can give my best representation. At the end of the day, judge akan decide whether I akan menang atau kalah. And then lastly is to have fun. Sebab I do believe that mooting is fun. So though I can do mooting for hours, daripada pagi sampai ke malam, sampai berbulan-bulan, tapi it was worth it lah for us. Sebab at the end of the day, we got to go to London for free. So not lah. That is all. Okay. So sekarang I open the floor for Q&A. At the same time, kalau any one of you is interested, so this is my public Instagram. I have my private juga. Maybe ada any of you yang dah follow. Tapi you can follow juga yang private ni sebab I will update about my YouTube channel. Tapi kalau you nak tengok terus my YouTube channel, this one. And kalau you rasa hari ni macam tak cukup lah kan, so you can pergi kat my YouTube channel. I have 5 parts video just discussing about mooting. So you guys boleh try lah tengok if any of the videos would be helpful for you kan.